Hello and welcome to our election special series, Battleground 2021. I am Vishal Dahiya. Now, campaigning for the first phase of assembly polls in Assam and West Bengal has come to an end. Voting will be held on 27th March for 47 assembly seats in Assam and 30 seats in West Bengal. Today, we will talk about these two states and the first phase of polling there. Now, let's start with Assam, where a total of 47 assembly constituencies span across 12 districts will go to polls in the first phase. And to understand the ground situation and preparations much better, we have with us today none other than the Chief Electoral Officer of Assam, Mr. Nitin Khade. Welcome, Mr. Nitin Khade, to Sunset Television, and thank you for giving us this valuable time because I'm pretty sure you would be very busy out there in the state ensuring a free and fair polling for the assembly elections in Assam. First off, the hook, we would like to understand, in figures and facts as well, what's the scenario in assembly elections in Assam this time around in terms of the electors as well as, the electorate as well as the polling stations and specifically the first phase numbers?
We are totally prepared, fully geared up to conduct free, fair and safe elections. We are going to polls in three phases. First phase is going to polls on 27th, that is day after tomorrow. We have all the assured minimum facilities in place. We have total 81,09,815 electors in the first phase. Out of that, 40,77,210 are male voters and 40,32,481 are female voters. 124 transgender voters are there. We have total 11,537 polling stations in the first phase. Out of that, there are 9,620 main polling stations and 1,917 auxiliary polling stations.
Okay.
And all these 11,537 polling stations are at 6,433 locations. We have the constituency which is having the highest voter number is 114 Jonai constituency. The voters number is 3,11,660.
And this is for the first phase.
But for the entire state, it's the Dispur 52 number, and it has the voters number as 4,11,636.
Okay.
And we have Thaura constituency 107 number, which is having the lowest voters in the phase 1. And Thaura has 1,15,364 voters.
Okay. And
this time we are fully committed to conduct a free, fair and safe elections as per the directions of the Election Commission of India. The Central Armed Police Force has arrived a few weeks back and they have started area domination. They are also being deployed at critical polling stations, those polling stations which are in vulnerable locations. They will be statically placed there. Apart from that, large number of other polling stations will also be covered with static police force of central paramilitary. This time, as per the Election Commission of India's guidelines, we are also introducing webcasting at 50% of the polling stations in each LAC. So this is an added layer of security which we are adding. And we are having the monitoring rooms at DO's office, at CO's office, and also in the Election Commission of India. So we can see the live feed from these 50% polling stations, and we can see how the proceedings are being conducted.
Okay. That seems a very elaborate preparation out there, Mr. Nitin Khade. But let's also look at the entire campaign schedule which was there at that particular time for the first phase. In terms of if you want to sum it up, the entire campaign for the first phase. The kind of incidents would have been there. How difficult or easy was it for your team to go ahead and monitor the entire campaign process, and in terms of complaints also coming in?
We have a unique circumstance this time due to COVID-19 pandemic. Bihar elections have recently been conducted by the Election Commission of India, and we have sought guidance from the Bihar elections practices, and accordingly, as per the Election Commission of India, we are also totally prepared to conduct elections in a safe manner. We have been conducting elections in a free and fair manner and with full security, but this time due to COVID aspect, we also have to ensure that the voters and the other stakeholders as well as the polling officials, election officials, safety is ensured. So this time that has been a major challenge, but we have overcome that challenge. We have got guidelines, instructions from Election Commission of India, and we have implemented it. For the voters, we are having hand hand sanitizer at the police station. We are keeping hand hand washing facilities there. Soap. We are also going to give them a plastic gloves, use and throw, which they can use to touch the machine so that there is no contamination from one voter to another. We are also ensuring proper disposal of all the biomedical waste. We are also giving all the protective gear to our polling officials and election officials as per the directions of the Election Commission of India. Our polling officials will be having N95 masks. They will be having face shields. Some of them will be given surgical hand gloves as per requirement. They are also being given hand sanitizer. Along with that, all the polling stations are being sanitized. So all these precautions have been taken. All those voters who are coming, we are appealing to them to please come with a face cover or face mask while coming to a polling station. But if some of them don't come, then we'll also provide a mask to them. So we have taken all the necessary precautions. Along with that, we have tried to generate sufficient awareness amongst the voters about the COVID safety protocols. And in these terms, our team has worked hard for last 3 months. And as a result of this, we are quite confident that we will be able to conduct a free, fair, as well as a safe election.
Okay, definitely those are the preparations, with respect to the COVID-19 safety guidelines. But one question here, on the same aspect, during the entire campaign process, Mr. Khade, how successful was this effort of making all the stakeholders understand the importance of the COVID-19 safety guidelines, and were they followed in letter and spirit during the campaign period, or there were some lapses and complaints?
We have given these guidelines and we have issued these instructions to all the stakeholders, including the political parties, immediately after receiving it from the Election Commission. And there is a system of disaster management in our country. So there are state disaster management authorities, there are district disaster management authority, there is a national disaster management authority. So accordingly, the DMs and the senior officers who are heading the state disaster management authority, they are taking the necessary steps. And we are also appealing to all the stakeholders to abide by these instructions. We are taking all the precautions and we have informed all the heads of the district disaster management authorities and the basically the disaster management authorities are taking the necessary steps in this direction.
Okay, one more question here, Mr. Khade, is about the electorate, about the voters. Now, in Assam, there is a segment of voters known as D voters or doubtful voters as well. For the benefit of our viewers and for the benefit of the people of Assam as well, if you could explain who these doubtful voters are and what's the number in terms of over a total electorate in the state.
Doubtful voters are those voters whose citizenship is in doubt. So they have been marked as doubtful in the electoral roll. So this practice has started a few decades back. And there is a system that once they are marked as D voters, then till their case is decided by the Foreigners Tribunal, till their name is cleared, till they are declared as Indian citizen, that doubtful voter mark is not removed. So we have such around 104,000 doubtful voters. and they will not be having the right to vote in this election. So, doubtful voters, if they are declared as Indian citizen, then only they are allowed to vote.
Okay, and the last question here, Mr. Khade, what are the expectations in terms of voter turnout this time around the first phase? Obviously, the other two phases as well, given the fact that, this election is happening during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Assam traditionally has seen a higher voter turnout. In 2016, we had a turnout of around 85%. In 2019 parliamentary election, we had a turnout of around 81%. So this time also, we are hopeful that we will have a good turnout. And though the COVID background is there, still we are hopeful that our electors will come out in big number and they will exercise their right to cast vote, and they are also aware of their responsibility to cast their vote. So we are appealing to all the voters, all the eligible voters, to please come out and cast their votes without any fear of security or without any concern about COVID. We have taken all the necessary precautions on both fronts.
Okay. Okay, there it is. Thank you so much, Mr. Nitin Khade. So you heard the Chief Electoral Officer of Assam talking about the preparations in the state for the first phase of polling, which will take place on 27th of March. And in addition to that, obviously, the COVID safety guidelines, as well as Mr. Khade was also saying, we at Rajya Sabha TV would also like to appeal to the voters in Assam to come out in large numbers and cast their vote, but adhere to the COVID-19 safety guidelines. We'll take a short break here, but on the other side, we'll also talk about the state of West Bengal, in which also the first phase of polling will take place on 27th of March. Stay tuned.
Do you know who conducts the appointment of the Controller and Auditor General of India? Your options are A. Finance Minister, B. President of India, C. Parliament, and D. Prime Minister. And the correct answer is B. President of India.
Rabindranath Tagore was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his book Gitanjali. In 1950, he composed the music and lyrics for India's national anthem, Jana Gana Mana. And when Bangladesh became independent in 1971, they chose Tagore's song, Amar Shonar Bangla, as its national anthem. Tagore's life and works have made him a cultural icon, studied the world over, even into the 21st century.
Welcome back. So after Assam, let's now talk about the state of West Bengal, where also the first phase of polling will take place on 27th of March. And this will be in 30 assembly constituencies, out of which 19 are general constituencies, 4 SC and 4 reserved for ST as well. Now, all these constituencies are spread over 5 districts. 4 of these assembly constituencies fall in Bankura, 3 in Jhargram, 7 in Paschim Medinipur, 7 again in Purbo Medinipur, and 9 in Purulia. So we'll try and understand the situation in these parts of West Bengal, these 30 seats where the campaigning has has come to an end today, and the polling will take place on 27th. And to understand more the situation on the ground and the scenario, the political scenario, the electoral mathematics and analysis out there, we have with us senior journalist Sanjay Singh. Sanjay ji, welcome once again. And let's start by taking a look at the campaign which we saw, the high voltage campaign in the state of West Bengal. Looks like there is a lot at stake, both for the ruling party, the main challenger BJP, as well as the third player, the third front there, the Congress and Left Alliance, along with other regional parties there.
We shall look at a situation. These elections, of course, stakes are very high for BJP and Trinamool Congress. Stakes were also very high for the third formation out there, which is Congress and the left. Unfortunately, they either have surrendered or want their votes to be transferred to either to the BJP or to the Trinamool Congress. I don't know whether that's that's a strategic plan maybe of these two parties and the combination, but that is for them to decide. Having said so, the situation here is ahead of first phase of polling that Trinamool Congress was sitting very pretty before these elections and campaign started. Of course, BJP was doing the groundwork. A party which Mamata Banerjee won successively with higher margin, winning 211 seats in last term, and BJP starting with only 3 in last assembly out of an assembly of 284. So that's a very interesting situation. The campaign by itself, it was such a high voltage campaign, a surcharged campaign from both sides, that for any student of politics and for anybody who likes to see and observe an election and be part of the election process in terms of coverage, because we as journalists are part of election only in terms of coverage that we do. That process is by itself very enthusing, very surcharging, also for people like us and for a whole lot of people across the country. Elections are though being held in 5 assembly for 5 assemblies, but West Bengal stands separately in terms of popular attention that these elections are getting. I would say that the way the campaign has progressed in terms for the BJP, beginning from a situation where many people were not giving BJP a worthwhile situation to win. BJP, of course, post 2019 parliamentary election result, the situation, people realized that situation had changed, altered on the ground, and Mamata Banerjee could be on a very sticky wicket. But from there on, the BJP has only gained ground, to my understanding. Mamata Banerjee stands to, I would not say at this moment, stands to lose election, but surely in terms of number of seats that she has in existing current assembly, that's going to go down very, very substantially. Will that be to the extent that she loses power and have that distinction of coming for 3 consecutive states to power in the state? That's a different question altogether that we'll come to know only on May 2nd. But these elections, also the kind of charges and counter charges have been made. The most interesting part, I would say, that Prime Minister Modi picking up Mamata Banerjee's Bahari charge for people who have been campaigning there and terming BJP leaders outsiders, and taking that to Banking Chatterjee and Rabindranath Tagore to national song and national anthem. That, I think, was a very, very substantive rebuttal, which enthused the crowd, and you could see from the response of the crowd. And the way he played this Khela Hobe, Mamata Banerjee's other kind of campaign slogan, Khela Hobe, and the charge that she says Khela Hobe and we as in BJP say that the progress and other developmental aspects, we focus on that. The crowd again was very enthusiastic about that. Then you also have a situation whereby there is a certain communal polarization. The most interesting aspect when first phase is going to poll and campaign has ended today, I would like to see and know that would actually be known when the final results are declared as to which way CPM and Congress's vote are shifting.
Okay.
Also, I would say Furfura Sharif ISF votes, either that is they're in a position to win, or there is strategic voting on part of the community concerned, which Furfura Sharif ISF predominantly kind of represents. That would be a very interesting situation to see, because they are not in contention. It was supposed to be a triangular contest, but this is out and out a bipolar contest.
Indeed, it looks so in various parts of the state, Sanjay, and the way you pointed out, the campaign process in any election, and specifically so this time around in West Bengal, is full of allegations and counter-allegations, charges and their responses as well between the star campaigners of all political parties involved there. Let's now look at, these 30 seats which are going to poll in the first phase in West Bengal. Now, if you look at these, districts, Bankura, Purulia, Jhargram, West Medinipur and East Medinipur, this is a tribal-dominated belt. And, this was considered, during the left rule, this was considered a left citadel. And when TMC came to power, specifically if you're looking at 2016 numbers as, vote percentage and seat, TMC got around 50% votes out here. And it, changed hands to TMC. So, for BJP as a challenger, it looks like, and if you look at the trend, it becomes really imperative to make inroads into this particular belt and, and ensure that they can win quite a sizable number of seats out of this 30 here in the first phase.
Vishal, BJP is surely going to make inroads in these areas. Fact remains that how much? The question is not if they would make inroads, but the question is how much. Purulia, of course, the world will be focused on Purulia tomorrow. And Mamata Banerjee's personal fortunes also are greatly linked to that. So as to Subhendu Adhikari's, the new BJP mascot out there, and the person whose family almost had total influence in this particular area. And he was also the person who was instrumental in taking Mamata Banerjee there and making the groundwork for what was later called Ma Mati Manus campaign of Mamata Banerjee and Trinamool Congress. So tomorrow, of course, is going to be very, very crucial. And the way, because the two things happen as a journalist, Vishal, you have seen on the ground. After first stage of polling, there is a word-to-mouth campaign from either side that this particular party is doing better in these areas and has already, the poll process has already taken this kind of shape. And thereby they try and propagate this word-to-mouth campaign in their favor and to kind of disadvantage of the other party. But I have also seen that when you try and attempt to create a word-to-mouth campaign on facts which are not congruent with the facts existing on the ground, people in other areas don't tend to buy that. And they vote according to their own conscience, their own kind of inclination towards X or Y political party when their turn comes in next round.
Okay, one last question, Sanjay, here, and that's the issues specifically if you're looking at, because this is a tribal-dominated belt. In fact, significant number of seats. If you're looking at the number 30, out of those 37 seats are reserved for scheduled tribes, 4 seats reserved for scheduled caste here, and 19 are general seats. But in those seats as well, tribal votes do hold a lot of importance and significance. So in terms of issues, if we are looking at, how would you, summarize quickly what might be the issues or the factors which might decide as to where the voters will go?
See, the voter principally sees as to which political party is sincere in making the promises and has capability to deliver the promise. The party which is in power for 10 years has something to say as to what they have done. If they have not done the way people perceive it should have been done, then the party goes to the disadvantage of political party. The fact that Hemant Soren, Mamata Banerjee sought cooperation and active kind of support from Hemant Soren And I saw somewhere that she was talking about something which happened in Jharkhand, in Jamshedpur, to influence minds of tribal voters. And also talking certain things as to why Amit Shah was going to tribal household and the way they are doing things. That is an indicator as to somewhat, the TMC and Mamata Banerjee feel that they are on a bit slippery ground in terms of delivery.
Okay.
Because if you have delivered, you will come strong on as to what you have delivered, than kind of going into the rhetorics. Of course, rhetoric form a greater part of political discourse and public campaign. So therefore, it becomes hugely significant. Be the kind of leadership that you have, and also in a situation when too many people have migrated from Mamata Banerjee's camp to the other side. Also, some left leaders also have migrated to BJP side. So people are making that fresh assessment almost on a daily basis, everyday basis. They also made up their mind. That is not decided in last 24 hours. They keep on deciding something, and by end of the day, people actually whatever, if there is any confusion, that confusion is gone, and they decide and cast a decisive vote. So tribal belt, of course.
Okay. Indeed, those are the issues there. And as Sanjay Singh is pointing out, it is a very dynamic, political electoral battle there happening in West Bengal. And all major players, including the ruling TMC, the main challenger BJP, and obviously left and the Congress as well, are retuning, fine-tuning their strategy on a daily basis. But as far as the first phase of polling is concerned, as Sanjay was pointing out, it is going to be an interesting battle, and we will have to wait and watch as to how things went till the 2nd of May. I would like to thank Sanjay Singh for his views and insights there. We'll come back to you, Sanjay, again later on in the days to come about not only West Bengal but other states as well. But before we go, we will make an appeal to the people, the voters specifically, of these 30 assembly seats in the state of West Bengal to come out in large numbers, cast your vote, exercise your franchise, but also do take care of the COVID-19 safety guidelines. Thank you. Keep watching Sunset Television.